So this is not just a Wall Street crisis, it's an American crisis, and it's an American economy that needs this rescue plan. And I understand why people would be skeptical when this president asks for a blank check to solve problems. I spend most of my time in Washington being skeptical about this administration. And this time's been no different. And that's why over a week ago, I demanded that this plan include specific proposals to protect the American taxpayer, protections that the administration eventually agreed to, as did Democrats and Republicans in Congress. First, I said we needed an independent board to provide oversight and accountability for how and where this money is spent at every step of the way. Second, I said we cannot help banks on Wall Street without helping the millions of innocent homeowners who are struggling to stay in their homes. They deserve a plan too. Third, I said I would not allow this plan to become a welfare program for the Wall Street executives whose greed and irresponsibility got us into this mess. And finally, I said that if American taxpayers are financing the solution, then you should be treated like investors. You should get every penny of your tax dollars back once this economy recovers. Now, this last part's important because it's been the most misunderstood and frankly, poorly communicated part of this plan. This is not just a plan to hand over $700 billion of your money to a few banks. If this is managed correctly, we will hopefully get most or all of our money back. We might even turn a profit on the government's investment, every penny of which will go directly back to you, the investor. So the rescue plan now includes these four principles. And it also includes a proposal I made yesterday morning to expand federal deposit insurance for families and small businesses across America who've invested their money in our banks. This will give a boost to small businesses, making our banking system more secure and helping restore confidence by reassuring families and businesses that their money is safe. But even with all these taxpayer protections, this plan is not perfect. Democrats and Republicans in Congress have legitimate concerns about it. I know many Americans share these concerns. It is clear, though, that this is what we have to do right now to prevent a crisis from turning into a catastrophe. And that's why I've been reaching out to leaders in both parties to do whatever I can to help pass this plan. That's why I'll be flying back to Washington today to cast my vote to safeguard the American economy. And to the Democrats and Republicans who oppose this plan, I say this: step up to the plate, do what's right for the country, even if it's not popular, because the time to act is now. This will only work if there's real enforcement and real accountability, and that starts with presidential leadership. So let me be very clear. When I am president, financial institutions will do their part and pay their share, and American taxpayers will never again have to put their money on the line to pay for the greed and irresponsibility of Wall Street. That's a pledge I make today, and it's one I'll keep as President of the United States. Now, accountability must start with this rescue plan, but it can't end there. Across Wisconsin, across the country, families are sitting down at the kitchen table and making hard choices. You're planning for your future in tough times. You're squeezing just a little bit more out of next month's paycheck so you can pay next month's bills. It's time for Washington to do the same. We can't mortgage our children's future on a mountain of debt. I look at all these young people here today, and I say to myself, the notion that we are loading up more and more debt on a war in Iraq that I believe should have never been authorized and should have never been waged. On tax cuts for multi-billion-dollar corporations and some of the wealthiest Americans. That is not a good investment in the future. We can't run up a credit card, have a party, and leave our children to pay the bill. It is time to put an end to the runaway spending and the record deficits. It's not how you would run your family budget, and it must not be how Washington handles your tax dollars. It's time to return to fiscal responsibility and pay-as-you-go budgeting. the kind of budgeting we had in the 1990s. You remember Bill Clinton left a surplus for George W. Bush. Many in Congress have been fighting for these common sense principles, and I'll be a president who supports them and makes sure they succeed. That's why I'm not going to stand here and simply tell you what I'm going to spend. I'm going to start by telling you how I'm going to save when I'm president. We are going to go through the entire federal budget, page by page, line by line, and eliminate the programs that don't work and aren't needed. We should start by ending a war in Iraq that's costing us $10 billion a month while the Iraqi government sits on a $79 billion surplus. Think about it. Iraq has a $79 billion surplus. The notion that we are putting our tax dollars in at a time of desperate economic circumstances makes no sense, and we're going to change it. We should also stop sending $15 billion a year in overpayments to insurance companies for Medicare. And then we should go after tens of billions of dollars in Medicare and Medicaid fraud. We need to stop sending $3 billion a year to banks that provide student loans the government could provide directly to students for less. And we can end the hundreds of millions a year in subsidies to agribusiness that can survive just fine without your tax dollars, and use some of that money to help struggling family farmers right here in Wisconsin and all across America. That's what I'll do as president. We can't stop there. We lose $100 billion every year because corporations set up mailboxes offshore so they can avoid paying a dime of taxes in America. In the Senate, I worked across the aisle to crack down on these schemes. And as president, I will shut down those offshore tax havens and all those corporate loopholes once and for all. You shouldn't have to pay higher taxes because some big corporation cuts corners to avoid paying theirs. All of us have a responsibility, LaCrosse, to pay their fair share. That's accountability. And that's what we'll have when I'm president. As for the programs we need, we'll make them work better and cost less. I want to create a high-performance team of experts that evaluates every agency, every office, based on how well they're serving the American taxpayer. We can save billions of dollars by cutting private contractors and improving management and oversight of hundreds of billions of dollars that our government spends on contracts. And I'll finally end the abuse of no-bid contracts once and for all. The days of sweetheart deals for Halliburton will be over when I'm in the White House. Now, make no mistake, we need to end an era in Washington where accountability has been absent, oversight's been overlooked, your tax dollars have been turned over to wealthy CEOs and the well-connected corporation. You need leadership you can trust to work for you, not for the special interests who've had their thumb on the scale. And together, we will tell Washington and their lobbyists that their days of setting the agenda are over. They have not funded my campaign. You have. They will not run my White House. You'll help me run my White House. They will not drown out the voices of the American people when I'm president.